you gonna change the things around you? Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation? Oh, let it move inside of you. Life ain't no.
Welcome, beautiful souls, to Infinite Perspectives, where voices become vision and vision becomes transformation. I am Michelle Diamond, and I am an author, also co founder of this platform, and PR strategist for my co host, the amazing Linda Boston. Linda?
And I thank you. I thank you, Michelle, for being here. Without you, I don't know if I'd be doing any of this. But I am Linda Boston, founder of Peer Incorporated, which stands for Portable Educational and Entertainment Repertoire. I am an actress, I am an author, and I am your co-host here on Infinite Perspectives.
Yes. Thanks, Linda. Tonight's conversation is not just about leadership, it's about legacy, impact, and what it truly means to build something that reaches beyond you.
We got to let that sit there for a minute, right?
Yes.
Because leadership doesn't just exist in titles, right? It exists in responsibility, and it exists in vision, and
Yes.
it exists in what you are willing to build for others.
I like that.
Mhm.
And honestly, if we're honest, legacy isn't something we talk about later. Absolutely not. It's something we are creating in the now, right now. So
Yeah.
tonight, we ask a deeper question. What does it take to build impact that spans generations?
Oh, yes.
Tonight, Infinite Perspectives is proudly brought to you by Peer Incorporated, Next Level Promotion, a division of Infinite Perspective Brand, Moniker Enterprises, Carlotta Cole the Brand, and Unlimited Networks Property Management. And I am so grateful that we have the opportunity to share this amazing soul with our viewers. Tonight, we welcome the woman that wears many hats, the incredible Felicia Seamon, CEO and president of All Generations Foundation, founder, visionary, and leader, whose work bridges education, community, and culture. But beyond the titles and all the accolades, she's a builder of systems, a cultivator of opportunity, and a steward of generational impact.
Yes, that's true. Because when someone is committed to youth development and higher education and community empowerment, their work doesn't just serve the moment. It literally can shape the future. Felicia, welcome to Infinite Perspectives. And tonight, we're not just talking about what you do. We're exploring what you're building beneath the surface, right?
Yes. Yes. Thank you both for having me. Can I take you two with me when I get introduced in other places? That was phenomenal. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We'll go anywhere you go.
Yes, we have to listen. We have to give the flowers while we are all still here. And you are one that have given many their flowers and, paved the way for so many others. And we just want to ensure that you are recognized and get the flowers on this platform, which rightfully deserved. And with that being said, Before the organizations and before the leadership roles, what first called you into service?
That's a great question. I can very comfortably say that it was the lack of that called me into service. If you're not familiar, I was born and raised in Philadelphia. From North Philly. For those who are listening who know about Philadelphia, they know that North Philly is not downtown. I'll just say that part. You know, so my parents. I'm very open and honest about my childhood. We were very poor in the sense of money poor, but still had access to several things. In fact, both of my parents were drug addicts and eventually recovered gratefully. But that still was the life that I grew up in North Philadelphia, a life of poverty and shelters and things like that. So the lack that I recognized existed is definitely what put me on a road towards servicing others. I believe it was mostly because I recognized clearly that there were a lot of things that were lacking for myself and my family. So the goal was to try to climb out of it, but eventually the goal became to make sure that others could climb out or not experience it at all. So that definitely has always been a goal to be better off. And I'm grateful because even having parents who had those challenges very early on, my mom, Christine Lewis Dukes, you know how I am, Michelle, about saying those names.
Yes.
My mom, who's no longer with us, she still, even in spite of being an addict, we were in dance class and, jazz, ballet, tap, karate class. Thankfully, she was functional, unlike a lot of my friends' parents. But thankfully, she was functional and she clearly knew the importance of education because she even had an associate's degree from Berean Institute. All the things that I learned about speaking and things like that before I even went to school, I got those things from my mom,
Awesome.
So then mentors came in, of course, after that. And, the rest is history, as we say, because I've always had folks who poured into me when I was that little girl who just held onto my mom's leg and barely talked. People can't believe that at all, right? But that was who I was. And I'm very grateful for that story because I'm not sure, what trajectory I would have been on had it been different. So
something different, yeah. A magnificent. Know that there are many people that can relate to what you've been through in some shape, form, or fashion. I can relate to that in some shape, form, or fashion. And it makes me think, you said some powerful things about your upbringing and how it still, you still had pathways that shaped and molded you in an artistic way. Was there a particular moment when you realized that it wasn't just passion, but it was purpose?
Very good question. If I had to think of a particular moment, I would say that I was in elementary school, 6th grade. So literally getting ready to graduate and move to middle school. And one of my teachers from my elementary school, James G. Blaine in North Philadelphia, where Madeline Cartwright was the principal. This
remember all them names. That's good.
These are people who poured into me, so you remember those people because, and I definitely call their names. And Miss Brooks was my social studies teacher, if I remember correctly. And she must have just seen something in me Okay. And let me be completely transparent. This was a Caucasian lady. Okay.
Come on.
Because that was in our day, there were a lot more of other people who didn't look like us teaching than
Correct.
there were today. So
Validity.
yeah. Yeah. So she saw something in me apparently that I didn't know was there. And she encouraged me to get involved in a Black History oratorical contest.
Come
Wow.
on.
And I said, well,
Okay, Miss Brooks.
yes, Miss Brooks, exactly.
Yeah, right.
You know, at first I was kind of like, and I remember I was like, well, I don't know if that's something that I want to do. I was very quiet and shy for quite some time. And she said, no, she said, you speak well enough. And, you know, I can tell that you're probably on the phone listening when your mom's talking on the phone. And I was always listening. So I'm the person that speaks to the supervisors today, you know. So when she encouraged me so much, and so did the other folks who were at Blaine, and she worked with me. And, you know, I thought I was just entering a contest, but I was learning about our history. And it was still a little watered down because my speech, from what I remember, was about Jesse Jackson and folks who are modern day civil rights folks. But I didn't get deep into, you know, our history until years later. But she encouraged me so much. And we wrote the speech together and wrote it out, and we practiced. And I remember saying that speech in the 6th grade, 12 years old, in front of Philadelphia's City Council at City Hall. And I won first place out of all the schools in the city in that Black History oratorical contest. My sister still laughs to this day. And she's going to laugh when she's probably watching. I'm sure she's going to laugh because anytime she hears Jesse Jackson, which has been prominent since his death, rest in peace, whenever she hears I am somebody, that's how my speech started. And I said, I am somebody. I am somebody. She cracked up laughing every time. And I really felt touched, you know, when I watched Jesse Jackson's funeral. And I said, you know, you never know how somebody touched you just based on how you might be moving. So that's always been something very important to me.
Yes.
That's wonderful that you're saying that, because, you know, you don't cross paths by accident. Right. Things happen to you on purpose. In fact, I was telling my nephew that if you go through this entire life and you don't learn anything, you've wasted an entire life. Absolutely. Literally. You got to learn something while you're up in here. If you don't, you will have wasted a whole bunch of time. But was there a moment when you knew that this work was bigger than you even?
Oh boy, yeah, a couple moments for that.
Tell it.
As you both know, I'm a graduate of Cheyney University of Pennsylvania, the first historically Black college, or as I like to say, the first institute for colored youth, because that's how we started.
Right.
And I would say, you know, from my early years in North Philadelphia, growing up and experiencing and recognizing a lot of, you know, some of the turmoil that my parents were going through within their addiction. You know, I looked around and I saw that North Philly was a place that was struggling, you know, and the people were struggling, which was my interest in going to college. I said, I have to be able to do something better than what I'm seeing. And I eventually found myself at Cheyney. And I tell people I did not start at Cheyney. I transferred to Cheyney. They would clearly think, with all the love that they see
correct
me, that I went straight from high school, and I didn't. There was a journey even to get there. And I say that because people need to know that, you know, sometimes it takes a little longer for us to get where we need to be. But when I got to Cheyney and I again began to learn about our history and my roots, I learned so much about Cheyney and its history and its roots. And I learned how there were so many so many areas where we too were struggling because we are not a private institution like our sister HBCU, Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, but we are a state-owned institution. We're owned by the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education, which is very different when you look at the governance. And that was probably where my eyes had really become open, because I saw a lot of our history in the history of this institution. And I saw a lot of those struggles that are still happening to this day. I saw a lot of those things, and I knew that's when the machine came into my vocabulary, and I realized and recognized that I was fighting against something that was way bigger than I was.
Yes.
Wow. That's beautiful. So with this new understanding of you fighting something that's way bigger than yourself, what would you say the version of yourself had to evolve for you to step fully into leadership?
Well, that's a good one. Yes, there were, and there still are. Let me say that there are so many things that I have learned, just still growing in my leadership capacity, because I know that that is a lifelong journey. But I would definitely say that I knew I had to get training. I knew I had to work under people who I admired, who I respected what they did. One of my professors, Dr. J.B. Flynn, he's since passed, but he was also a mentor. A lot of the folks who are watching this know who I am, so I know they're like, yeah, Dr. Flynn. This man gave me the clarity about what I could potentially do with my life, in service to others. Because he would say things, always a cliche. He was a cliche kind of dude, but he would always say something that would make you think about your life. Like, for instance, he'd say, I could tell what kind of person you are by what you do on the weekends. Or what you do with your free time. And I was sitting there and thinking, I'm thinking, I'm a college student. I'm saying, well, I know what some of I'm doing with my free time. But as I matured, of course.
Yes, as we mature.
And I was a commuter, so I probably was very much out of the elements of Cheney life, social life, than a lot of people. Right. And I was a non-traditional student because I transferred, so by the time I got there and I saw the party scene, and I was like, no, I'm too old for that now. I did that at Dell State, the other school.
Right.
So, but Dr. Flynn would say things like that, and he would make you think about what you're doing with your time. He was very, very meticulous about time, to a point that if you didn't get to his class on time, he'd close the door. If it started at 10, the door is closed and you're outside knocking, and he's like, sorry, you missed it. And it made me aware of time, time commitments and all of those things. And he was the first person that introduced me to leadership. So we had a leadership class with him, and I think that was where my fire got stoked, because he put us in a group with other students. And, some of us, depending on what type personality you are, you're not really, a group person, but you do it, because you want to make sure you get a good grade. And I think that was probably one of the first times that I had to move into a leadership role. And I enjoyed it because I liked the outcome of it, getting a good grade, having this documentation of this research paper and this presentation. So I think that was it. And he also kind of pushed me into student government and things like that, which really entrenched me into a leadership role and how we can do something to support our alma mater.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You were talking about time, and in learning about time, you learned about respect, because you have to respect other people's time
if you want them to respect yours.
Yeah. And young people must, I don't care whether you go to college or not, you have to know how to be in the room.
Absolutely.
You have to know how to be part of the equation, part of the conversation. Unless you want to stay stuck like Chuck, okay? You gotta learn how to, you gotta learn how to do something a little different. As a proud HBCU alumna, what role has this experience played in shaping your leadership?
Oh boy, more than I ever imagined. As you all know. Let me tell you something that I truly, and anybody who's watching this, they know it from the heart. Whether we may have disagreed in the past or not, they know I bleed Cheney blue. You know, this
yes, you do.
And let me tell you, bleeding blue for your bleeding whatever color your alma mater is, it does not take away from that you may not always be in agreement with those in authority. Okay. Correct. And I am one of those folks who, you know, if something doesn't appear to smell good, I'm gonna call you on it. You know, so that has absolutely pushed me into a position. And again, it wasn't something that I walked into, you know, intentionally, but as a student at Cheney, I had alum who were so amazing to me while I was a student. I had our alumni director, Karen Roach. She would take me in like I was her child, because again, my parents were still getting themselves together at this time. You know, we had Kazira Waters and Betty Berry Holmes. We had these people who, I was a commuter, so I was getting on a bus every day, back and forth, until I finally got a car my senior year. So they would have raffles. And now tell me why some of the raffles would be commuter passes from SEPTA, our transportation fund. They were looking out
for me. What you needed. They knew what you needed.
What I needed. And they were something that we are trying to re-engage now. They were the alum who looked out for the students. They were on the campus and they were making sure they had an office so we could go to that office. So I found myself in the alumni office more than I was in the commuter situation. So it was these people who kind of laid the foundation, one that we are really trying to recreate. They laid that foundation for me and said, you know, you need to get involved now. We need you to get involved now. We can't wait until, you know, you get married, have children, buy your house, get your career together. HBCUs and a lot of other institutions, but we can't afford that. We cannot afford that.
The cost is too high.
Absolutely. The risk is right. Exactly.
Look, I don't even say risk anymore. The cost is too high.
All of it.
And, you know, Linda and I just had this conversation. I believe it was on yesterday. And I believe it was even in the back room with, we're not going to give away too much, but I gave away some on the platform when I posted it. But talking about being in the rooms and having those leaders, you know, on campus positioning themselves because they're looking at their fold and saying, this is what this person needs to be successful. Absolutely. And when we talked about it, we said, you know, it's something that our parents instilled in us, and it's just now making sense that if you are in, or you position, let's frame it this way, you position yourself in a room, and if you realize once you take and analyze the room and you're like, I'm the smartest cookie in this room, you do yourself a huge disservice.
Yeah.
Because you are the only person pouring out, and no one is pouring into you. So when you position yourself around like-minded, however, those that have more experience and knowledge that can benefit you, and they could pour continuously into you, and the levels are staggered because you see that there's somebody above them that's pouring into them, you know that you're positioning yourself in a circle that is worth everything. And you can't put a price on that.
You absolutely can't. I completely agree with you, Michelle, that was, you know, from the basketball coaches in high school, Louis
Yeah. Yeah.
Zambino, all of these people poured into me, and I am forever grateful. And I tell them, those who are still here, I always tell them, that there were things. Louis Zambino was my basketball coach in high school, and he was literally like my stepfather. Again, another Caucasian person. So
Mhm.
I was very, very fortunate because some of us, didn't have the experience of even having someone who looked like them in a mentorship capacity, much less someone else who kind of stepped over and, jumped into the cookout. So I am always grateful. And I believe that is, what I'm here for. I believe that that's what God has kind of put into me, that I'm of service, because I tell you, every time I think that I have learned more than I need to know, seems like it's something else coming. I'm right back in the learning again. So
see, now that makes me ask you this, because we've talked about a lot of what the HBCU experience brought to you and has brought to hundreds of thousands of other people. The HBCU legacy represents so much. And in today's world, what do you think it represents in today's world? I know what it has meant. I kind of am jealous of you guys because I went to Eastern Michigan University, and what we had, that was definitely a standard university, but we had a Black Alumni Association, and that Black Alumni Association helped to connect people. What we discovered recently in the last 10, 20 years, when we were on campus back in the 70s, when you saw a Black person on campus, you spoke.
Absolutely.
You just did not. I don't care whether you knew him or not, you spoke to him. In today's world, Black folks on campus, white folks, they don't speak, they don't care. I went to Eastern Michigan University when it had its first Black homecoming queen, Pat Swan Brown. I'll never forget it. And that was like the March on Washington when that happened. So in today's world, what does the HBCU legacy represent?
Oh yeah, I can answer that question without a problem.
Come on.
First of all, let me clarify. HBCUs have educated millions, if not billions, of people, because we're not only talking about the folks today, but we're talking about the folks pre-Civil War who were educated, and because they were not categorized by the government as historically Black colleges and universities, does not discount everything that they did. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's in terms of today, I believe, especially in the now that we are in today, that HBCUs are more important and valid and relevant and necessary than they have ever been. I think there was an impression from many, that things were good. We're just kind of coasting and, almost to a point that we have acclimated to all the other schools. And I would, without a doubt, express that I'm sure people are looking at that very different after you can see how in one administration things can change so quickly. Funding can be removed and pulled so quickly. Programs like DEI and things like that were initially started for white folks who were in the war and things like that. All of these things were things that, we kind of got into later on. So things are very different now. And I believe it's very, very relevant today. But I believe that we have more of a responsibility to reconnect these HBCUs so that we can ensure that there is a legacy to be around when we're gone. Because I believe just like the schools are being closed, you see the secondary education, you see the schools consolidating, they're closing schools. This is not just happening in Georgia.
No,
it's happening in Pennsylvania, all over the country. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a lot of work to do. And as every now and then I might need a little bit of a break from my alma mater just to take a step back because when we're dealing with ourselves, sometimes it gets a little crazy. But I will never step away
Oh,
ever. And everything that I do, literally through the PhD program that I'm in right now, college policy and administration, go figure, right? That is where my heart is. How to make sure that programs are centered with students first. Colleges have, in my opinion, become very, very cash cow friendly. All of the community technical colleges, four-year institute, even the prestigious of them all. But,
Right.
what our students are really learning is yet to be said. And especially post COVID, we are probably going to see a very different type of young person coming from a high school and going into college than we've ever seen. Whereas all of these things, like you're talking about, the Black student unions and things like that, those things are imperative. We absolutely are going to need them. We're going to need more resources. We're going to need, more dorm mothers and dorm fathers and all of those things, because the young people are going to come with very different challenges today. And if we can't meet them, then, we're just going to fail them. And that's the part that we are working diligently to try to make sure that we're at least in the space to support.
And that's what you're talking about. That's what love looks like. If people are trying to figure out what to do that is from the heart and that has love connected to it, that's what love looks like.
It is
right.
And it's not people are trying to figure out what, because I'm assuming that an individual who didn't even go to college can still support an HBCU.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. We have supporters from all over the world. Absolutely. This is absolutely not, which was why I prefaced some of those statements with those mentors who were my mentors. A mentor is a mentor. Obviously, for folks of color and people who have been undervalued for so long, it is a big deal if you can see somebody who looks like you, because that was absolutely very important. Cheney gave me that, and now as a child, my mom gave me that. So, but I agree with you. It's super, super important, and this is across boundaries and generations.
Thank you.
Especially generations.
Yes, and I like that you said boundaries, because we narrated and we said nationwide throughout the U.S. But if you heard what I said before, you said I said worldwide. And I said that intentionally because Linda, you and I were a part of that other group, the Women Empowerment, and we had those sisters in far lands that were talking about the same difficulties and challenges that they are facing with education being pulled. And as we talk about this system, you saw how we went in and took over somebody else's country, and then what happened? Those children are suffering. They don't have the educational tools that they had before. So it's not just in the US, and that's why I want to say it's worldwide, and that's why it's so important about the diaspora. But that's another topic for another day. And you are right, Linda, we need to continue to spread this love. And you guys both hit on love and legacy. And when we're talking about legacy, are we talking about what we leave behind or what we actively build?
I believe that it's a little bit of both, but definitely in reverse, what we actively build. To your point, Michelle, I think I have, in this 50 plus stage, gotten to a point where I recognize that my definition of legacy was a little confused. Initially, my organization, and I'm literally just making transitions as we speak, the name of the organization was Seamon Enterprises. Okay. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm in charge of it. I need to have my name on it, right? But now I'm mature, right? A little bit more mature. And I recognize that it's not about that. It's, that's what I assumed would be here when I was gone because my name was on it, you know. But I realized quickly that it wasn't about that. After I started kind of taking, you know, just looking in depth of what I was doing and who I was working with and who I was servicing, I realized that it's generational. You know,
Right.
I've been influenced heavily by people who are older than me, who have poured wisdom into me, and I'm so grateful about that. And it's still a part of my life today. I'm the person in my family who supports the people. Everybody called me. I can't get into this. I don't know how to do this. Felicia, can you help me with this? And you know, I'm that person. You know, it's just in my makeup. So I'm really grateful that I eventually, before I left here, came to the realization that I didn't need to have my name on everything, you know? So that's definitely, in terms of what you said about legacy. Now I feel like it's what I'm building, you know, it's everything that I've been doing, not even just what I'm building now, but it's what has been built before me and what's going to be built after me. So I'm super appreciative that you even brought up legacy, because it's just such a resounding theme in everything that we've been doing together.
So true. And with that, how do you ensure that the next generation is truly prepared to carry this legacy forward?
That's a big question that I am not going to act like I have the answer to. I'm not. Hey, Michelle, I'm not one of those people be like, I know. No, I'll be like, I'm not sure. I'll look it up, you know, but I do. I think most of us, we do what we can, you know, and sometimes without getting frustrated and remembering that you too once were a young person who didn't have it all together. So, you know, to give grace. And I think that it's been really, really difficult to pass the baton. And I don't think we're admitting it as much as we should. I think we're acting like things are fine, and it really isn't. You know, I have to tell some of my friends, I went back to Cheney and taught as a professor, and that was the love job of my life, because I had no idea that I was going to become who I had emulated as a student. And I was fortunate enough to be recruited to come back and teach in my department. So Dr. Flynn became my colleague. Can I tell you that?
I know that blew your mind.
Oh my God, it blew my mind, but I know it blew his mind. Because it makes you so proud. It's like you literally have birthed something that no one else had.
There you go.
And that part of it was amazing for me, because you know it was everything just kind of that just snowballed.
So can I touch you there?
Go ahead.
Because you know, you just gave me chills, right? Even though I knew the story already because you shared it with me, but sharing it again on the platform and the question I posed, it just brought it full circle for me. And I'm going to answer your question. You said that you're not sure, but you are in essence, because guess what? You answered it in a loop. You said that the teacher that you looked up to and that poured into you, you went back and you're teaching right in front of that person. So now they're looking at what they birthed and they're standing there with pride and joy. So in the same breath, you're doing the same exact thing. You're pouring into these students, and on your platforms, you're pouring and pouring not only into students, but in all generations.
I agree with you, Michelle. I think I am, and I feel comfortable saying, I feel like I'm doing my part. Absolutely. Yes. I absolutely feel like I'm doing
your flowers, girl.
I feel like I'm doing my part. You know, it's just, I'm not someone who's afraid to admit that it's hard. And that we need help, you know, that we need everyone who's watching to be a part, to go to an HBCU, or better yet, how about go even further, go to the elementary schools, because the secondary education is suffering even more so, you know. So
you think about that prison to pipeline situation at elementary.
That's a whole nother topic for discussion. But that's okay. That's why we have these great minds together. And that leads me into this community systems. Linda, thank you for bringing up the system and impact, right? So when we talk about community systems and impact, and I'm proud to say that Felicia has, and she mentioned it, that she's not scared to ask for help. She has pulled me into this with her, and I stand as a proud board member, and I let her tell you the title. I'm not going to do that. She could do that. But, you've built programs that serve youth, families, and communities. Yeah. What does it actually take to turn your vision into real sustainable impact?
Okay. Now, that's a good question, but I know that she already knows the answer to that question because she's helped me turn some stuff into some.
I don't know. So you got to tell me.
Of course, we're going to share it with the community, with the platform. But she's saying that too, I believe, because she wants other folks to know how much it takes, how much you have to sacrifice, and the time that you have to put in. Even the program that we're going to talk about in a second, the Legacy to Leverage Policy Resolution Debate, this new program that we're doing, but all of the programs and events that we've done in the past, it is like a full oiled working machine that every piece has to be in place, plans well out. I don't even like planning things less than 6 months out. So it really, my shoulders feel very heavy when I'm planning something quickly because I know that there's more room for error. But in terms of the impact and the systems, you're right. That's literally what we are attempting to do. We're trying to build systems. I'm so grateful that I finally got the courage to ask Michelle to be a board member because I was one of those, that I think I have the Black girl magic. And sometimes that Black girl magic will have you doing everything. You will be your own board of directors. And I recognized early that I had some folks who believed in me and became loyal friends and said, hey, we'll help you. And that came to my attention sooner. I wish it would have come to my attention sooner than later. And I would have asked for help sooner. So I wanted to definitely say that I'm so grateful that Michelle came on as our vice president. And I know that she is more meticulous than I am. So she was absolutely the right person for the job to help create those systems. And I know Michelle's background and what she does. So it was a perfect match because I also wanted to help her put together her systems and so that we could do that together. So it has been amazing, but again, it's been hard. It's so much planning involved, so much. And I've been having this conversation with somebody earlier. We are at a very interesting point in time with technology that a lot of our folks are not as literate. Some of them are not literate at all.
Right.
So when you're planning, especially if you're planning something huge, the event that Michelle and I did together some years ago, we did after COVID. It was one of the first and the largest. It was a weekend event. COVID events. We had binders that had laws and rules and regulations.
We had the nurse, we had the security, we had police officers. We had the whole diagram with the ingress, the digress, look, all of the above mapped out.
It is a massive undertaking, especially if you're someone who is a little bit of a perfectionist and you want things to be right. So I was grateful that Michelle was introduced to me because she came in on fire and I was like, oh my gosh, just like me.
She's a wonderful thing.
Yes, it was a wonderful thing, but I was so grateful because it took a lot of the burden off of me to not have to do those things myself. So it was between Michelle and Lucretia and Isabel. We had gotten a couple
such an amazing team. Yes,
such an amazing team, but we would not have been able to do it together, and we still had hiccups. It was literally right after COVID, but it took some planning. We were on the phone every day. I was talking to Michelle more than I talked to my husband during that time.
No, we fell asleep on the phone together.
Oh, Lord, that's beautiful.
It was so successful. It was wonderful. The networking opportunities. It was about the arts and literacy. It was so many things. And
we had people come out that you
all
wouldn't even expect to
all
come
over.
out. We had Raindrop Lopez,
Yeah.
Lisa Left Eye Lopez, sister, come out, performed. We had Kevin Savage, come out, of course, and I'll give shout outs to In the House
Absolutely.
Media for coming out, being the person behind the scenes with the camera. There were so many people.
Yeah,
Charles,
thank you
Chuck,
for that.
look, like
Yes.
so many people,
Yeah,
and the
and
list goes
thankful
on
to
and on and on. Yes, Chef
absolutely.
Curtis, Otis, look,
Yes.
Otis, Chef
Everybody.
Otis,
You
first of
got
all,
them,
yeah.
you know them. And we think how well, and we are thankful to Jerome for introducing us because
Yes, Dr.
had he
Dorn.
not, we wouldn't be where we are today. And like you say, Linda, it was purposeful. Everything was happening the way that it should have
No
happened.
mistake.
So I'm grateful.
And
Everything is
now
on
we pull Linda in because she's sitting here acting like she's not a part of something, and she's a part of something as well. And listen, Linda,
Well,
she's a humble pie. And when I tell you, this woman sat behind the scenes with us for hours and helped orchestrate in the planning for something big. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but
yeah.
we don't know what we would do without Linda either. So we are just grateful to be able to have her as our fellow sister or mentor. Because listen, even though she says I help her, she's my mentor as well.
Yeah,
Her and
well,
Felicia
thank
both.
you.
So
You're
we
welcome.
mentor each other.
absolutely. We do.
It's
We
about,
mentor
it's
each
about
other.
purpose. It's about purpose of serving. At a certain point in your life, you turn around and you're like, I need to give.
Yeah.
It's cyclical. When you understand energy, it's constant. It's constantly doing like that.
Constant.
So when you give, you naturally receive.
Yeah.
And people have to realize that. That's something that young people have to realize.
Yeah. Well, we have to, to your point, we have to teach them that. They haven't been taught,
Yeah,
and that's where I come in.
And you got to remind the older folks that.
Absolutely.
You got to remind them.
that we need them to teach, right?
Exactly. And this is why we say that sometimes people see programs, but they don't see the structure, the intention, or the responsibility behind building something that lasts.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Put that on the screen 10 times because that is right.
Yes. And what challenges do you see in today's communities that people feel but aren't openly addressing? See, people have these challenges every day.
Right.
And they feel it every day.
Every day.
But they're not openly addressing them. What do you see people doing?
That's right. It's a myriad of things, believe it or not. It depends where you are. It's all location. Each location has something totally different going on with it. Like in Atlanta, I work with some folks who are part of the Pittsburgh community in Atlanta. Winfrey Young and Gilbert Young, amazing, renowned artists from all over the globe. This area in Atlanta is one of the most impoverished areas in Atlanta. And the help that they require is very different from, the help that might be required from somebody in Covington or Jonesboro. It's very different because a lot of the folks who are there are much older, senior citizens, a lot of them. And clearly, a lot of what's happening in the world, especially technology, has been thrust upon them. No teaching, no being a part of the development of this technology. It's just been thrust upon them. And it's even worse when you're in an impoverished situation because you have access to absolutely nothing, to a point where even the wires that are underground aren't sufficient, like they might be in a Buckhead, because that it wasn't laid down correctly back then. So, the internet is patchy, it's just something as small as that to folks who just who are starving food, food shelters and things like that are missing. It's so much in so many areas. And I think, Linda, like you mentioned, I think one of the reasons that I find myself jumping in, they say, if you want to get somebody to do something, get a busy person to do it because they'll make time. I'm that person, and I think that's why I jump in, because I have literally experienced a lot of those things. We've been homeless. I've lived in a shelter with my family, with my parents. You know, those things stick with me. So when I recognize it, when we moved to Georgia, that's the first place I went. I looked it up and I wanted to see, based on income, what was the lowest income bracket city or area in there. And that's why I went to Pittsburgh, because I knew they needed the most help. But the types of issues and problems that our communities are experiencing, it's overwhelming, and it's getting more and more overwhelming as we, continue with the type of administration that we're with now. So it's kind of unbearable, and it's very sad. But hopefully, the hope is that we can keep finding the young people and pouring into them so that they can become those change agents to make some things very different from what they possibly experience. So it's a lot, though.
Yeah. I think you even spoke to the answer of this next question, because you said you did the research to find the poorest area to serve. And I was going to ask you, how do we move from awareness into action? It takes research, right?
Absolutely.
Or
Absolutely.
Is there some other component that's necessary?
One thing that I have really been able to gauge from being in this PhD program, the research. And I was a really good researcher from my master's degree program. In fact, once I got back to Cheney and became the health and wellness professor, I switched the syllabus up completely. It just wasn't challenging enough for me. And I was like, oh no, we're going to do this if we're doing this. Right. So now health and wellness was a required course. You had to take it as a freshman, but I had our students in our lectures. They were responsible for researching and developing an analytical paper that they had to present, where they did research on some topic or phenomena that they were interested in. They had to interview people and then bring the data back. So it was really, I realized it was my way of taking what I got from the University of Delaware and bringing it back to Cheney based on some of the things in some of the areas where I knew I lacked before I got my master's degree. And a lot of it was research that I eventually got. But I absolutely agree. Research is important. But now that we're at this literacy standstill, it's more difficult, because ChatGPT it's helpful. And I agree. I use it every day, especially as a grant writer. I use it a lot. But it also can become a hindrance if you, like Michelle says, if you don't let it use you. You have to be really careful with it. But the research, absolutely, because if we don't document and publish so that other people can see what our issues are, then it's just a thought. Like Dr. Flynn used to say to me, it's not a vision if it's not written down. A vision is written down. It's a plan. And then you know what he would make us do? He'd say, put it on the wall. You need to see it. You need to see it every day so you can see what you're doing. It needs to have objectives and a deadline and a timeline so you can know what you're doing. You got to brand it in there, because that's what technology does, right? Social media, it brands, it forces you to do that. That's a concept. So with us supporting our communities, absolutely, we have to do that research, but we got to go in the trenches. I'm one of those folks that, when I worked with that board, I'd say, we're not going to get these people to come out. We need to go to their houses. We need to knock on the door. I'll bring my husband with me, but we need to go and knock on the doors. We have to be fully engaged with our communities to be able to support them like people supported us.
Very true. Yep.
Yeah. Yes.
So with all that being said, what does leadership look like when it's rooted in service and not visibility?
Funny. I can tell that she has some questions that she knows. Okay, I am not the person who has the interest of being in the front.
You can't. Wait a minute. Let me cut you off. You can't tell our secrets now. You'll tell our secrets.
I'm just saying that these are some very good questions. So I know that she knows me probably better than I realized, right?
Yeah, so, she researched you and she knows you. So
you're right. I didn't get it until now. But
listen, Felicia is not she does not like to take credit, and this is why I said we have, remember when we started the program, Linda, what did I say? We have to get Felicia on this platform, and I need to introduce you to Felicia. And you kept saying, who is this Felicia? And
who's this
Felicia? And here
Felicia,
she is.
wait a minute, Felicia from the
Listen, I am, you know, I was going to come. If you call me, I'm coming. But I am not personally the person who feels like I need to be in front of the camera.
Right.
I'm grateful for those who are, because we need those folks, but I'm a very much background person. I'm the person in the back making sure that everything is right. I'm the person in the back where you taking the pictures. I'm saying, get that off the floor. Why is that in the picture? You know, I'm that person. So
yeah.
and I'm the planner. I am the planner.
You can still do all that too and still be in front of the camera.
You're right. That's true. But how about, where's the time? Where's the time to do that?
Oh,
too?
I forgot about that part.
So I'm very grateful that I have friends and colleagues who are comfortable with that part, because I'm comfortable with talking on camera and all that, but I really am the person who is behind that administrative train. You know, I'm the person that before the meeting is over, I'm saying, so we're meeting next week, same time, right? You know, I'm that person, the follow up to make sure I'm putting it in the Google Docs saying, I know you didn't read it because I have my notifications on. I need you to go back and read that. You know, I'm that person. So I love that you two beautiful women are in front of the camera on our behalf. But, you know, as long as I'm looking in the background saying, that looks good. Okay, that was exactly what I wanted to do. But, you know,
and that's exactly what she does. Because, you know, Felicia
Yeah.
is definitely a supporter for all she believes in. And I will say this, and to our viewers and anybody else out there, if you want someone that believes in you and uplifts you, Miss Seamon is the person, as well as Miss Boston, because these two beautiful women, they will come and they will, doesn't matter what's going on. You have something going on, they may have another computer or phone or a tablet or something.
That's right. And you know that, Michelle, to be the, and let's not forget about the voice. Let me make sure that I tell the viewers, because I try to share this with everybody that I can. On Wednesdays, I'm in a writers group with some friends, Wayne Cooper and all these other lovely people, virtual. Their show, their meeting is at 7 p.m. Infinite Perspectives is at 8 p.m. Every now and then the writers group runs over, but I have Infinite Perspectives set up on another device, because sometimes it's not necessarily about just being there and being present and liking and commenting. It's also about the views. It's viewership. So I try to encourage folks, and this is with everything, obviously, because we're in this kind of technological world now. If you have friends and family who have podcasts or webinars and things like that, or if you have friends and family who are actors and actresses and on television and you see their stuff streaming, let it play. That's a great way to support people, is the viewership. So it's super important. I don't necessarily have to always be there commenting and liking, but that view that I'm providing them, it is amazing based on the analytics that they are looking at. So support somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's interesting you say that. That's where we are in this day and age. We can't get around it.
It is.
So what does it mean to build something truly serve multiple generations? Because I know that's something that speaks true to your heart.
It definitely does. I am as some people use the cliche, I'm an old soul. You know, so my mom was a singer and a musician, and she poured all of this music and all of these things into me. And I think it probably speaks to why I have such a great relationship with people who are twice my senior, right? They're much older than I am. I have relationships with people who are 70 and 80 years old, and I love it. And I think it's based on my upbringing. The respect of it is very important. And the ancestry. I know I have one very, very dear auntie to me, and she's not my biological aunt, but you would think she is. Cynthia Baxter, who's a Cheney alum as well.
Oh, everybody loves Aunt C.
And Auntie C.
Look, you see, we all like, oh, that's our Aunt C.
How about, let me tell you though, Linda, Auntie C is the person who has been able to some extent, fill in the gap where my mother left.
Aw.
You know, Auntie C is the one who tells you about any health stuff. If you haven't experienced it because you haven't hit a certain age, Auntie C is going to tell you about it. Like, I didn't know anything about your uterus dropping and all of that. And I was like, wait a minute, what? You know, so all of these things, she's shared them with me, and I love and respect her. So I help her. You know, if something's going on, I'm driving to where she is to get to where she is, because her son is no longer with her. He passed away before, and she is here with no one. You know, and again, like you said, stepping in the gaps, you know, going to the schools, whether they're the secondary schools, the HBCUs, with our seniors and people who are older, we have to step in the gap. As I mentioned before, so much of what's happening in our world today has been thrust upon them. Especially technology, thrust upon them. They have to get online to look at their health care, you know, any banking information, Social Security, you name it. Now you go into a doctor's office, you're directed to a kiosk, you know. So girl, I know, look, I didn't hit a nerve right there.
Lord, I went to the doctor, had to fill out this piece of paper that said, while you're in the doctor's office, all of it will be documented by AI. He pushes a button. He doesn't take any notes. He just has a conversation with you. So anything that it could pick up, but see now, if you gonna document it on AI, I'm gonna turn on my phone recorder.
Absolutely,
because I want to remember what the doctor said.
Right. Because there are laws about those kind of things, right? Because you're the doctor now, you can record everything, and I can't record anything.
Yeah, you sign in HIPAA. You're signing agreements with AI. And I said, and at that point, you sign in with me that I can record too.
That's right.
Because I need to know what the doctor said.
Right. Because how can you?
That building that you're talking about, that if you don't build with intention, we have these gaps here that the next generation has to figure out on their own. We've got to do what you're talking about right now.
And that is exactly what All Generations Foundation and All Generations Technology is about. It literally came to me while I was helping my cousin Charlotte with her technology. So she FaceTimes me, and FaceTime's amazing. If you don't know, if you got parents and grandparents, help them with their technology. I'm so tired of parents and grandparents telling me that their children won't help them, like, we birthed you. You can't help me with my TV. But anyway, it came to me immediately while I was helping her. She's sharing her screen and I'm helping her, and she's so grateful. Felicia, thank you so much for helping me with this. And she trusts me. So it's banking information. It's all types of stuff because she trusts me, you know. And I'm saying to myself, I said, wow, this is crazy that you have to do this and you don't have any support, you know, that should come along with the device. It should come with the help. There should be some support there. And she said, girl, you know, I would pay somebody to do this for me. And I said, light bulb. You know, I said, it makes total sense to create a learning hub and platform for.
And you just answered my next question. Continue.
Yeah, it's a platform for senior citizens. It's also for community organizers and nonprofit leaders who may not be as savvy as others in technology. So it'll support you, you know, just doing the simple things, you know, whether it's physically getting on your phone, besides going into it, sending an email and things like that. But also you need your Apple TV set up, you know, your remote. We know we always got somebody coming and saying, what is going on with this remote? Sometimes I don't know what's going on with my remote. My husband's the remote.
Don't bring the fire stick in there. When you bring that fire stick in there, then you really
it's a whole nother thing.
You know what? You guys are hilarious. But you know, that's beautiful, because what you just described, that's the shift that you could take into future generations. Absolutely. As well as help our older generations to, as you said, we're bridging that gap in between the two. And that's just beautiful. So here we are, Felicia, with everything that you have done, the work you're building it doesn't just stop with you. It expands through collaboration, through community, through movements. And part of that movement, we know that you are joined by another amazing person. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to join us this evening. However, she's joining you on that stage is, Miss Chioma, and she's helping to bring this vision to life for the fan legacy to leverage. And what we wanted to go into is just have you talk a little bit about that. And Linda, what is your take on this?
Well, I've always wondered, because I've been privy to a few of your meetings,
Yes.
and I praise them highly. You're setting the groundwork for some wonderful work in the future that will heal the land. See, I look at it on a bigger picture of healing a nation, healing a world along certain things. So can you briefly share what FAN represents and why this work matters right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So FAN, the acronym is FHAN, and it's the first HBCU Action Network, formerly known as SATOI. And this group is made up of, originally it was 12 men who graduated from Cheney in the 70s, 1976, most of them to be exact. And they actually got together, a few years prior, went to Cheney and looked around and said, this probably should be looking very different right now. Things don't appear to be where they should be. And they created a nonprofit, and this is what we do. We say, okay, something needs to happen, action. And they took their knowledge and they created a nonprofit that was designed to support Cheney through, the student support as well as scholarship support. But the really large goal is a complaint that was lodged some time ago that was reestablished through FAN to the Department of Education and the Office of Civil Rights, which now we see is being dismantled, and there's a lot going on there. But yeah, there's a huge complaint, and I'll make sure that I put it in the comments so folks who might have an interest can see it. But there's a complaint, a discrimination complaint against the state that back then it was not fully resolved, and monies were never paid out. And it has a lot to do, in many of our opinions, with the trajectory that Cheney has been able to move on and the limitations of that trajectory based on funding, discrimination, governance issues, and all types of things. So we are very much engaged in that work. And when I joined FAN, and I'm now I'm the CEO, but when I joined, I was just an advisor. I respected what they did. I respected their work, especially because, again, they graduated in 1976. So you can do the math and recognize what ages they are. They have done everything. They're in retirement, so they could have just retired and left. And they didn't. And I respected that so much that I jumped in and I said, let me see this complaint. I looked at that complaint and I said, this is too much. Nobody's going to read it. So I took that complaint and I flipped it. I put a voiceover on it and some animation, and they were like, wow. So those are the things that we've been doing. And we've added one new program to our business plan that talks about the legacy, the longevity, and to make sure that we are staying on top of things. We are the gatekeepers. So we have to make sure that we are, keeping up with everything that's happening. And we do that through our chapter. We do that through our national alumni, but we do that independently through this organization so that we don't have to feel so pigeonholed to the chapters, but that we can do it the way that we feel like it needs to be done. And, and then people recognize that there is some impact there and you have to listen.
Well, you this upcoming event, an experience that's getting ready to happen, and I need you to tell the people what to expect from this wonderful. I've sat in on these meetings, and I'm excited. I'm ready. So you tell me what's getting ready to happen.
Well, I appreciate the warm introduction for it. So we are excited to announce that on this Sunday, April 26th, 4 p.m. is what time the virtual doors will open, or maybe a little bit earlier than that. But we will have our inaugural HBCU Legacy to Leverage Policy Resolution Debate. And let me tell you that the first series, so we're telling you that this is definitely going to happen again. The first series is much about the institutes for colored youth that were established before 1865. Okay, so way before. And you know why? Because we weren't taught any of this information. These are our forefathers. These are people who paved the way for us to even be in existence. And these 10 schools that were established before 1865, and I've been saying them so much that I think I feel like I know them by heart. Bowie, Cheney, Clark, Atlanta, Harris Stowe, Lemoyne Owen, Lincoln University, Shaw University. UDC, University of the District of Columbia, Virginia Union, and Wilberforce. These schools were all established before 1865. So we've invited all of them to this policy resolution debate. So it's a little bit different. It's not like the typical affirmative, negative debate. You choose a side, I disagree with you. This is a policy resolution debate where these folks that make up the teams, which is also non-traditional. The team makeup is a student from a college, a faculty person, and an alum. So the intergenerational just speaks to the entire existence of it. But they're getting together and they are creating a policy around 4 resolutions. They only have to choose one, and they are creating a policy around it because we have to do better with educating our folks about the political side of things, the policy side of things, how we can make this bill a law and all those things, and how important it is to your point about the research, how important it is to understand all of those things, but then know how to act. We are not a private HBCU like a Lincoln University of Pennsylvania. We are owned by the state. We do not own that land. As much as some of us like to think we do, we don't. So it is imperative that we recognize the political facet of this and educate our students and our stakeholders across the board, students, faculty. The faculty senate is massively important, as you know, and alum. These are stakeholders that if they get together, they can do anything, but they have to know their power. And this is the attempt to get them to recognize what their power is through a policy resolution debate. And it's going to be phenomenal. You can even score on the debate. If you're an audience member, you have to RSVP first to be able to come into the StreamYard platform that is sponsored by, who should I say? Infinite Perspectives. So we are delighted. We are so grateful for the partnership. And we have, we're grateful because we would not have been able to get to this point that we are without you all. You've been so,
and I've learned so much from the scavenger hunt, scavenging myself.
Yes, definitely. Michelle has been on the phone with me like crazy, but it's such a passion. And it's so positive that everybody that we speak to about it, they're just like, oh, wow, that sounds like it's going to be an amazing thing. Now we have to do it, and we have to keep doing it and create that space for reconnection, reconnecting our HBCUs, because this is about the first 10 because they were the first, and
there are some are they called antebellum HBCUs?
Antebellum era is one era, and then some of them are a part of the Reconstruction era. So now I just say before 1865.
That makes sense.
So the historians and the archivists don't come for me. I just say before 1865. But we are so excited. If you're a member of the audience, you can RSVP to do that. Check the page. I'll put it in there. And you can come into the platform with the rest of us, and you can watch and hear and listen, and you can vote. So if you are interested in that, you can do that. If you don't want to be on camera, because you have to be on camera if you want to vote. But if you don't want to be on camera, you can watch it on YouTube. April 24th, Sunday, April 24th, 4 p.m. And all of that information will be right here. But we are so excited for the partnerships. Thank you to Infinite Perspectives. Thank you to Black, Brown, and HBCU Bound and Yvonne. Thank you to DOI and Sharon Crawford and her siblinghood, and everyone who's just been so helpful, including
amazing.
So
and the entire board of fans.
Board of fans.
Such amazing people. Look, we were honored. So this whole collaboration is just meant to be.
I know.
But listen, this isn't just an event, okay? It's an experience.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's a connection point and a continuation of the work we've been talking about this evening.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Michelle, because I think what's so powerful about what we're hearing tonight is this. And I want you to take a moment and breathe before we do it. It's not just about what we build in the world.
Right.
It's about who we had to become to build it in the first place.
Ooh.
You had to become something to even want to be here, to be part of this, or anything else that's powerful and positive and love based. Love don't hurt, it does
sure
good.
Does.
Right.
Ooh, I love that, Linda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because of that, behind every movement, behind every initiative, and behind every yes that mattered, there's a woman who had to grow into that space.
Absolutely.
And that is where the real conversation lives.
I feel like this is the perfect place to come back to the heart of it all. Yes. Felicia, if you could speak to yourself, your younger self, not as a leader.
Come on.
I want you to go back to that girl way back there before she started doing all these wonderful things. But as a woman becoming, what would you say to that woman?
Ooh.
I think that I would say that being afraid is okay.
Ooh.
That fear is eventually going to give you the confidence that you need to forge ahead on, I would probably say, on some real stuff that you never would ever imagine, because that's what it's been, and I know as a young person, I thought I was going to kind of coast along, and that apparently wasn't what my life was meant to be. So I would absolutely say that fear is okay. It's okay to be scared, but be ready, be ready, because it's coming.
Be ready, because legacy isn't just what we leave behind, right?
That's right.
It's what continues because we built with intention, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now share with us the programs, HBCU debate series, ways to connect with you and your wonderful work. This event is April 26th, Sunday.
24th.
Yes, 4 p.m. Doors may open at 3:30.
26th or 24th. Am I saying the wrong date? You're correct.
26.
26. Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
4 p.m.
At 4 p.m. Doors open at 3:30 or earlier.
3:30. We want the audience to participate. We want everybody that's looking to participate. We want those millions of folks who went to that HBCU. I got my numbers right. I took it out of the thousands and split it into the millions. We want all the people on there, right? Okay. Share with us where we can find you and how.
Absolutely. So the very good thing is that because we are now in this technology era, we've made every attempt to ensure that you can get this information from everywhere, regardless of what your level of technology skill set is. So first, I'll tell you that if you have questions, you can text the number 404-500-7801. Again, that's 404-500-7801. 404-500-7801. And you can text HBCU debate to that number, and you'll get a link with all the information to RSVP if you're interested in showing your pretty face on Sunday and being on screen, and also being able to vote along with the opposing team and the judges. You can go to our website, which is allgenerationstechnology.com. It's on the ticker as well. Again, it's all generations, plural, technology. I'm sorry. That's wrong. allgenerationsfoundation.org. I have to come back because I told y'all about that whole name change thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we changed our
Can you
domain
repeat
to
that phone number again as well?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Repeat that phone number.
404-500-7801 or allgenerationsfoundation.org. You can also go on YouTube. You'll see our information both on Infinite Perspectives, on Linda Boston's page. You'll see it on Fans YouTube page, and it'll be on Facebook. It's literally everywhere, but you can definitely find it that way.
On Facebook, you have to put in FAN, FHAN, Inc.
Fan Inc.
Because if you don't add the ink, you're going to see some things that don't make sense.
Yeah, and we don't even want you to do that. We're going to edit that part out so you don't even go down that road. But yeah, FHAN Inc. is on there, and I'll make sure that I share it on my personal pages. You can follow me at Felicia Seamon. So I'm definitely on there. You'll see me as one of their friends, so you can go to their pages and find me if you need to. And I'm thankful again. Thank you both for your flexibility with my schedule, because things have been a little bit hectic as of late. So I'm grateful to both of you for allowing the time. I love talking to you. So I know we need to wrap up because we definitely been talking for a minute, and I'm sure we still have a bunch of stuff we need to talk about.
And that's okay.
Right.
It's beautiful because we don't chop off the conversations, especially when it's meaningful and it's going to make an impact. It needs to be heard. So we're grateful and thank you for your time. We know that you have so many things going on and you have an event this evening. So listen, it's a lot, and we appreciate you, and keep doing what you're doing. We support you. We love you, and we honor you and give you your flowers. So thank you to our amazing audience for tuning in, and please make sure that you support. If you have any questions, you know where to find us. info@infiniteperspectives brand.com, and we'll be more than happy to provide all the links and the contact number again for you to reach out to Felicia. Now, tonight, if you take nothing else with you, let it be this: what you build absolutely matters.
Yes.
Who you build for matters. And how you build it determines what truly lasts.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
This is Infinite Perspectives,
where voices become vision. This is Michelle Diamond and the amazing Linda Boston and the beautiful Felicia Seamon saying gratitude and abundance. And until next time, peace and love.
How you gonna change the things around you? Oh, what you gonna love inside of you? Oh, when you gonna hear his revelation?